Okay, let's do a little time traveling. Imagine you're not just reading about history, you're in it. You're a traveler. It's the 6th century. And you're not in some empty, silent desert. No way! The world around you is absolutely humming with ideas, with arguments, with incredible stories. So let's take a walk through that world and see what we can find. Okay, so right away we have to just throw out a really common image. This idea that Islam just sort of appeared out of nowhere in a religious vacuum. Well, it's just not what happened. The picture historians paint today is completely different, and that's what we're digging into here. The world the Qur'an was actually born into. And let me tell you, it was a crowded, dynamic, and super religious place. Now, this era we're journeying through, it actually has a name. It's called Late Antiquity. And you gotta forget the old textbook idea that this was some kind of dark age or a period of decline. Historians like the great Peter Brown have totally flipped that script. They've shown us it was a time of huge transformation and, this is the key part, intense religious creativity. This is the stage where our whole story unfolds.
All right, first stop on our journey. So, here you are, our traveler, standing at a massive crossroads. And I mean, this is not some forgotten backwater. You're right in the middle, smack dab between two of the ancient world's biggest, baddest competing superpowers.
If you're standing in Arabia at this time, you can see the roads stretching out in every direction. These are the great trade routes, connecting you to the bustling markets of Syria, the heart of the Persian Empire, all the way to Ethiopia. But here's the thing. These roads weren't just carrying spices and silk. Nope, they were highways for something way more powerful: ideas.
All right, so as our traveler, I want you to look north, and then look to the east. Out on the horizon, you can practically see the glow of these two immense empires, and each one is defined by its own powerful state religion, a faith that casts a long, long shadow over this whole part of the world.
So over to the northwest, you've got the Christian Byzantine Empire. To the northeast, that's the Sasanian Persian Empire, and its official religion is Zoroastrianism. And both of these giants have their own allied Arab tribes, which means they're constantly pulling the people of Arabia into their political and their religious spheres of influence. It created this constant tension, this push and pull of competing faiths, right on Arabia's doorstep.
Okay, so now let's turn away from those big empires for a second. Our traveler is going deeper into Arabia itself. And what you find, well, it is not an empty, quiet, spiritual landscape. It's more like a vibrant, noisy marketplace of different monotheistic faiths, all trying to win people over. So what are people actually talking about? You know, what are the debates you'd overhear around a campfire or in a market town? The answer is a lot. The sheer variety of beliefs is kind of staggering when you look at it. I mean, just look at this landscape of beliefs. You've got entire Jewish kingdoms down in the south, like Himyar. You've got Arab tribes that are Christian with their own bishops. And it's not just one flavor of Christianity either. You have all these different sects fiercely debating theology, like the very nature of God. The point is, the big questions, the really big ones about one God, they were already in the air, everywhere.
And this is where that quote from Peter Brown just hits the nail on the head. He called it a time of intense religious creativity. This wasn't a static world just waiting around for something new to happen. It was a hotbed of innovation. People were actively, passionately debating God, Scripture, and who really speaks with divine authority. Okay, so something our traveler would figure out pretty fast in this world is that the most powerful ideas aren't locked away in some dusty library. No, they're literally carried on the wind. They're on the lips of preachers, they're woven into poems, they're shared by merchants on the road.
And this is such a crucial point to get. We live in a world of screens and text, right? But late antiquity was a deeply, profoundly oral culture. Sermons, poetry, public debates, that was the media of the day. And that's how these huge religious arguments and amazing stories could spread like wildfire. Just picture how this works. You've got a monk in a monastery up in Syria, right? He gives this amazing sermon about, say, the prophet Abraham. A merchant who's part of a trade caravan happens to overhear it. Weeks go by, now that merchant is hundreds of miles away, sitting around a campfire in Arabia, and he starts retelling that story, maybe adding his own spin. That is how ideas traveled.
And understanding this oral world is absolutely essential if you want to understand the Quran. I mean, scholars point out that its very structure tells the story. Think about it. The repetition of key phrases, the use of questions that make you think, the way it speaks directly to you, the listener,
It's all designed to be proclaimed out loud, to be heard and recited in a community.
Okay, so now that we've got a feel for this world, this bustling, talkative, deeply religious place, we can finally see where the Qur'an fits into the picture. It doesn't show up in a silent room. It enters this massive, ongoing conversation with its own very distinct and very powerful voice. I mean, just look at this timeline. We're talking centuries of monotheistic activity saturating the region. You've got Judaism, you've got Christianity in all its forms, and then, right at the culmination of all this, in the 7th century, the Qur'an arrives. It's the newest voice entering a debate that had been going on for a very, very long time.
And its message was really distinct in a few key ways. For one, it announced itself as a revelation in plain, clear Arabic. It put a huge emphasis on your direct, personal accountability to God. And it jumped right into the theological debates of the day. For example, it honors Jesus as a major prophet, but at the same time, it strongly rejects the idea that he was divine.
Now this is maybe the most important takeaway. Scholars are really clear on this. This isn't just a case of borrowing stories. They call it an interpretive dialogue. What does that mean? It means the Quran isn't just repeating stories about, say, Abraham or Moses. It kind of assumes its audience already knows the basics, then it retells and reframes those stories to make a brand new theological point. It's an active reinterpretation, not just a passive copy and paste.
So our traveler has seen it all. They've stood between the great empires, they've heard the passionate debates in the towns, they've felt the stories blowing on the wind. They've seen a world that is anything but empty. And all of that leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to ponder. If all these monotheistic ideas were already swirling around, were there people in Arabia who were already looking for something different, something simpler, a purer faith? And that's the perfect question to set us up for what comes next.